This tutorial we are going to go through classes and methods. So let's start with classes. So class is a blueprint wherein let's say for example a class blueprint represents basically real life objects or abstract objects. So real life objects like a car or a book. So these are like a tangible objects, and intangible objects are like a patient visit or something which have a abstract meaning. So class basically represents a blueprint of the object. So we can have like many cars, but cars, like most of these cars have a similar features. So this blueprint denotes a class. So let's see this car class, and car has a initialize method, and initialize method is taking three values: model, make, model, and year. So whenever I try to initialize these values, the it takes the arguments and it sets to instance variables. And what it is doing, so this is a local variable. Local variables has a scope of only inside of this method. So it can be accessible through only inside of this method. But class variable can be, sorry, instance variable can be accessed hmm, through the through whole of this class. So here I was able to access the instance variable. So it is accessible for one particular instance only. Uh, so here, whenever I initialize the class, we are getting an object, and I'm calling this function. So let's clear this thing and run. So what I'm getting is I'm getting driving Toyota Corolla 2020 and 2 again. So let's remove the second one. Again, let me return it. So we are having an extra line. So in this extra line, what it did was it returned a 0. This is actually output. Puts actually does an output, but uh, return this drive function is actually returning nil. So here actually there is a return nil by default. So in case if you return a value, for example, I return 5. So now we do not have a empty line. So let's see, let's run again. See, you have 5 value because it is returning the 5 object at the end. We do not have any object at the end. We had a output puts. So output puts basically returns nil, but outputs outputs the value which we put in here inside of this block, inside of this delimiter. So that's how, like, always there is a in methods, always the last line returns something. So either it returns nil, or if you mention any object, it returns that object. For example, you can return a hash. So I am returning a hash. So let's see this thing, key value. So a basic hash I am returning. So I got a hash. Now let's go to, we have covered classes and we have covered methods. This is a basically a simple method which is like we can create methods using def. So it defines method, and we can access like the uh, like these properties using attribute accessor or reader. So if you want to write these values, you can use attribute writer. So I'm using reader for now. So let's run this thing. So get the other values make. So I'm able to get all of these values. Make model year. So I was able to get these three values. I was able to get. So and I want to show you this is a local variable and it, it is returning at the end of this line, and in case if you want to access inside of here, it won't be accessible because its scope is only inside of the method. So here we are not able to get it. So let's call the drive function. Now we'll be getting an error if at all if we run this thing. So if you can see local method undefined. So it is not able to find the method or variable. So it has a scope of only within the function. We denote we denote class variable with double dollar double at the right sign. So a local variable, for example, we have a counter equal to 0. So how many times we call the this counter can be like can be added whenever we initiate this thing, we can actually increment the counter. So let's increment the counter. So we'll put the def count. Now let's put counter. So now I'm getting the count value. Now in case if you if you call car car let's see, you are not able to access this way. You can only access using method. So let's access via method, counter method. So it didn't return anything. So probably what could go wrong? Probably let us see. Probably I need to basically put this value. Probably so I got twice. So let me increment this initiate 2 3 cars. So 3 4 5. So I've initiated 5 times. So now I got 5. Now uh, let's close this scopes and next. So we have covered variable scopes. We have seen instance variables, class variables, local variable accessible only within method, and we have block variables. Block variables go, for example, we have a iterator. So if, for example, 5 dot times we have seen iterators. So do I. So I is a block variable. So block variable is with accessible within the block, this block only. So it is not accessible throughout this method which we are putting the uh, block in. So this is a block variable, and we have a global variable which denotes with a dollar symbol. So This is global value. So if at all I call the global value, so it's global value. Now we get the global value. So these are four variable scopes which we have, and you have seen attributes. Now we go to method access control. So for method access control, uh, we have three types of accesses in inside of for Ruby. So firstly, we have public. So public methods are accessible everywhere. So I was able to access this thing. So because this is a public method. In case I put this thing as private, counter as private. If at all I try to call this counter, you will not be able to access the counter. It throws an error because private is a function which basically abstracts certain behaviors. So if you want to do some uh, like internal modify internally something, you have to put those things inside private. And protected is something uh, like protected methods are only accessible within this class, and also like within the subclass of it. So for example, we have a class vehicle. So we have protected def def count, uh, some protected method. So here what I'll do is I'll return like a function. So protected to, so I will basically return this, and I return this inside of this protected method. So I can able to call this protected method from the subclass. So if at all I call this method, I will be able to like access that. So let's call, let's remove this counter. Huh. You you can see now, uh, like I was able to like access this thing in drive. Where is the drive? Where is this key? Return. Let's return this thing. Yeah. Uh, if at all I do this, I get an error. I can actually call this thing, but it doesn't return anything, but it can modify basically certain aspects of it. So, for example, uh, I take this make and I will increment year. So, let's increment year. So, I will send make for year, and this takes year and returns year. So you can see here, once we call this thing, we are able to get to this value. So we are able to uh, access this protected method. So I was able to like modify this here and return it here. So from, let me put this thing as a string, from protected method. This is a, like we discussed this earlier, this is an interpolation. So I put this thing, this value in interpolation. So now you can see from the protected method, 2021 was returned. Yeah, this is how like the mm, this is how like the access control works. Now let's go to inheritance. So how does inheritance work? So Ruby does not have a multiple inheritance. If you you can see here, there is a single inheritance. So car inherited the vehicles uh, class. So it has like, for example, vehicle can also have certain parameters. Uh, so vehicle also can have this thing, like let's put these things in vehicle and see like what happens when we try to run the code. Where is the count? Okay, let's remove this count. Let's remove this thing. Now let's run it. Where did we call count? Yeah, let's remove this thing. And where else? Yeah, let's run. So if you can see here, we were able to like inherit all of these properties from parent class, which is vehicle, into like the child class. This is how like the single inheritance works. If you want like a multiple inheritance, what you can do is you can use mixins. So mixins are basically uh, like can be used using modules. Uh, modules are basically namespaces in Rails. So module, helpful module, mod, helpful module. So if you want these methods as class methods, so if you want module methods as class methods, so then then what you do is like you have to include it. So sorry, you have to extend it for for it to become class method. So let me extend helpful module. So now I will be able to access this method from vehicle. So let's call vehicle dot class method. So this is a class method. Now this becomes class method. I was able to get class method. Let me return the value. What's this method? So let me remove all this instances and everything. Let's focus only on vehicle dot class method. So with you by using extend, I was able to like get this value. So like I was able to like get the class method. So uh, now class method basically do not need an instantiation of an object. So uh, and in case if you want this method on instance of object, then let's put include in here. So I've put include in here. Sorry, I put include in here. Now I will be able to get this thing on instance. So let's instantiate using maker model year. So maker Toyota Corolla Toyota Corona uh, dot class method. So uh, sorry, not class method, instance method. So now it becomes an instance method. You see, although it returns as class method, if you change this text, it returns as an method. So this method is only available on this instance, and these are like mixins. Include and extend are mixins. So include and extends are mixins. Now let's go to load, require, and include. So you have seen include is a like a way to uh, like include these module methods as instance methods. So include is used for this purpose. And if you want to if you use load, basically it loads like a file every time you load this like it loads the file every time you run this program. So for example, we have a some load.rb, sorry, load.rb. So let's say this loads. Okay, now whenever you load this function, whenever you load this file, so if you load .rb, then it will execute always, like this file gets execute always. If you tell you use require, it only execute once, and it will only loads once and executes it will load only once in the function. So in the future like in the future it won't load again and again. That is what there is a catch, uh, loads will basically loads the file all the time when you call it, but require only loads for first time. So require only loads first time. You have seen extend also. Like extend is a type of mixin wherein the modules method becomes class methods. So we have covered classes, methods, variable scopes, instances, attributes, access control, inheritance, mixins, load, require, include, and extend. Yeah, I think we are good.